What is PET-CT? PET-CT stands for positron emission tomography and computed tomography. It's a hybrid imaging modality which combines both PET and CT into a single machine. PET detects the functional aspect of the disease and CT will detect the structural aspects of the disease. So in just one scan, we will get the both structural and functional aspects of the disease. At Pratima Cancer Institute, Nuclear Medicine Department, we have the latest infrastructure with Siemens Biograph Horizon PET-CT with time-of-flight technology. What is this time-of-flight technology? So basically, this time-of-flight technology detects the time difference, the slightest time difference measured in picoseconds between the two photons hitting the LSO crystal. So, what advantage does it have with this technology? There will be accurate detection of the pathological lesions with exact origins. Sharpness of the image will increase with a higher resolution. There will be lesser noise or scatter from the surrounding structures. The radiation exposure to the patients compared to the conventional PET imaging will be lesser, and it will be beneficial in obese patients with more weight who will otherwise have more scatter in conventional PET imaging. There are different types of PET scans for different indications. For example, there is FDG PET-CT in majority of the oncology and non-oncology cases, that is cancerous and non-cancerous conditions. There is something called gallium dotatate PET-CT for neuroendocrine tumors, and there is something called gallium 68 PSMA PET-CT for prostate cancers. And the latest tracer is gallium FAPI, which detects majority of the cancers. As part of this series, we will initially start our discussion with FDG PET-CT and its indications. It is used in both cancerous and non-cancerous conditions, in different types of cancers in different organs, where all at different stages it is used, like when the cancer is initially diagnosed through the blood tests or the biopsy reports and clinical examination. Once it is diagnosed, how to treat it, whether they can go ahead with surgery or give neoadjuvant chemotherapy or other modalities of treatment like targeted or immunotherapies. They need to know what stage is the cancer is, whether it is localized to that particular organ where it is arising from, or has it spread to surrounding structures and distant organs in the body. That is called staging PET-CT. For example, if we take carcinoma breast, where the primary cancer is in the breast, and whether it has spread to surrounding lymph nodes, which we call as regional lymph nodes, and distant organs like lungs, bones, livers, other distant lymph nodes. Depending on this staging, the further treatment will be decided. Then comes the treatment. The patient might undergo a surgery or undergo a chemotherapy or a radiotherapy or a targeted therapy or an immunotherapy. After that treatment or during the course of that treatment, to know the interim response assessment of the particular treatment which is being given, there is something called response assessment PET-CT, during which we will know how the cancer which was diagnosed is currently. Has it reduced, or is it stable, or has it increased with any new lesions being detected? So it helps the clinicians in deciding whether to continue the same treatment modality or whether to change it based on this response assessment PET-CT. Now, once a treatment is completed, the patient will be on a regular follow-up every 6 months to 1 year. This is called the remission phase. That means the cancer has resolved mostly and the patient is doing fine. So he'll be on follow-up with the doctors for the minimum of next 5 years. During this time, at biannual or annual intervals, they will need a PET-CT depending on the clinician's advice to to see whether the cancer is in control or has it recurred in any part of the body. If there is any recurrence, it needs further treatment. So this is the follow-up PET CT or the surveillance PET CT. During any time of this follow-up of the patient with the clinician, if they get a suspicion either through the blood test or clinical examination or any rising tumor markers, they will have to know immediately, like, where is that cancer right now? Is it there or not, or has it spread anywhere? They need to confirm it by something called histopathology, and then proceed. If needed, it will be confirmed by histopathology and further action will be taken. After follow-up PET CT, there are certain cases where we don't know, the patient will present with a swelling somewhere in the body, or significant weight loss of the patient, or a fever which is not subsiding. They are suspecting some unknown primary. It is called malignancy of unknown origin or carcinoma unknown primary. In such cases, PET will help in detecting the primary malignancy. Not only in detecting, I would say it will also help further in guiding the site of biopsy. In certain cases, there will be lot of necrosis in the tissue, and biopsy sample will not be adequate or will give inaccurate information in these critical unknown primary cases. In such cases, PET will guide the clinicians from where the biopsy sample has to be taken for 100% accuracy, in order to get the correct histopathology reports. So this is about the cancerous conditions. So not only in cancerous conditions, FDG PET CT is also useful in many non-cancerous conditions, which many people in the medical fraternity, doctors and medical professionals, are not aware of this. So to say, for example, in a case of pyrexia of unknown origin, patient will be hospitalized for a long time, will be treated with multiple lines of antibiotics, still the fever doesn't come down. So in order to know that obscure cause, the cause of infective foci which is there in the body, PET CT will help in detecting that focus and guiding for further treatment and improvement of the patient. That is one indication of non-cancerous cases. Then we come to other modalities like cardiac cases. In heart related conditions, we call something called as viability PET CT and sarcoidosis PET CT, infective PET CT, infections of the heart, endocarditis. In all these indications, there are certain protocols which have to be followed before doing the PET CT, which can be discussed with the nuclear medicine physician if needed. So this is regarding the cardiac indications, heart related indications of FDG PET CT. Then comes to the brain. In neurology, PET CT is helpful in detecting or diagnosing in suspicious cases dementia, different types of movement disorders like typical and atypical Parkinsonian syndromes, as well as refractory epilepsy. There are certain minority of cases, I would say less amount of cases, which won't respond to the regular anti-epileptic medications in spite of longer durations. So there is this small section of patients who might benefit with surgery. So if we can find out that intractable focus, MRI is the modality of choice in these cases. When there is a discordance between the electroencephalogram, which is EEG, and an MRI, the role of interictal PET CT comes into place, which detects the hypometabolic focus in the scan, which is the site of arisal of the seizures or epilepsy, which further helps the clinicians in planning further management. Then we have some other indications like vasculitis and autoimmune disorders, where PET will be very helpful at the time of diagnosis and during follow-up period, whether they have responded, how they are responding to the treatment, and whether they are in remission or not. At these different stages of vasculitis and autoimmune disorders also, PET is of great use. Thank you.